que ustedes pues ayudan para hacer en la obra de Cristo en Colombia.
To give a report again of the work that's being done in the nation of Colombia.
Y ese es el informe que vamos a dar del año 2020 hasta este año. Quedamos, sí.
So they'll be given a report, the work that started in really 2020. This is where the church meets.
En estas fotos, diapositivas, estamos mirando donde quedamos la vez que presenté el primer informe.
Yes. This is where the church met when he came here in 2019 in this small house that renovated.
Nos reuníamos en este lugar.
Yes.
Y siguiente. En este lugar nos reuníamos. Siguiente.
Yeah, this is the pictures of the place where they met when they first began the work in 2019.
Y comenzó la pandemia. En el año 2020 empezó la pandemia.
Yeah, COVID began in 2020.
Y no se nos permitió pues reunirnos en el local.
And just like here, they were not allowed to meet at the meeting place.
Pero nosotros continuamos con la predicación y nos reuníamos en nuestra casa.
Of course, they continued to meet in homes on Sundays and also virtually in the other days that they were meeting.
Y también nos reuníamos por internet.
Yes, so they met, I guess I just said, I skipped, sorry. Yes, they
Siendo
met
nuestro primer en vivo el 27 de marzo.
So the first time they met again, actually together at the building, was in the 27th of March.
Ahí está la foto del en vivo.
This is a picture of when they were meeting, of course, in internet.
Y nos reuníamos el primer día como congregación el 19 de abril en nuestro hogar.
And so they began meeting again in Fernando's home in the 19th of April of 2020.
Ya que habían personas que querían reunirse.
So yeah, people were already beginning to start meeting together again.
Ahí están las fotos.
These are some pictures of the meetings that occurred in his home.
Y a pesar pues de todo, pues seguíamos evangelizando a las familias. No paramos en pandemia.
So he says, even though, of course, they were not allowed to meet as a church, they were continued to evangelize and visiting people, families in order to teach them the gospel.
Tomando pues las precauciones y las personas que querían que se les llevara el mensaje.
Yes, so even though, of course, they were having to meet all the government protocols, and I would say, just as an aside, they were probably a lot stricter in Colombia than they were here. So.
Sí. El primer bautismo lo hicimos el 27 de mayo.
So the first baptism that they had after the
COVID el 2020.
Yes, is the 27th of May, 2020.
Fue un joven que se llama Fernando Díaz. Luis Fernando Díaz fue el primero que hicimos en el 2020, en mayo, el 27 de mayo.
Yes, so a young man named Luis Fernando Díaz, and that again was the 27th of May of 2020.
El 26 de mayo se reunió, también se bautizó Karen Vanessa Hernández.
And as you can see, this young lady, Karen Vanessa Hernandez, was baptized just a few days later.
El 26 de julio se bautizó Juan David Padrón, el hijo de Efraín Padrón, que es un joven que está trabajando conmigo, es el que me ayuda.
And then a few months later, in the 26th of July, was Juan David Padrón, and he works with him now in the work of the gospel.
Y el 2 de agosto se bautizó Giovanni Herrera.
And again, the 2nd of August that same year, Giovanni Herrera.
El 2 de agosto se bautizó la esposa del joven que me ayuda, de Efraín Padrón, se bautizó María del Pilar Hernández.
And then again, in August, was baptized, and this Maria de Pilar Hernandez is the wife of this young man that he said is helping him with the work.
Y el 18 de agosto del 2020, Yanevi Almanza. Esto es algo particular, ella tenía COVID y nos pidieron el favor que quería bautizarse porque podría morir y quería irse con Cristo si moría.
It says this young lady, Yanevis Alamanza, was baptized in August, and he says that interesting about her is that she actually had COVID and was concerned that she would leave this life without Christ and wanting to be baptized into Christ, even though she had COVID at the time.
Y fuimos y la bautizamos.
And yes, of course, they took her. By the way, this is a river that passes nearby where the church meets now.
Siguiente. El 24 de agosto del 2020 se bautizó Luis Fernando Ramos y Jessica Pérez, una familia, son esposos.
Yes, so the 24th of August, again that same year, Luis Fernandez and Jerica Pérez were baptized. They're a young couple.
Y el 20 de septiembre, Nuria Almanza y Ana Rodríguez.
And then the next month, Nuris Almanza and Ana Rodríguez, again, were baptized.
Sí. El 11 de octubre se bautiza en la iglesia en Chinú, Grey Estefanía Ramírez.
Yes, so maybe just un momento, hermano.
Sí. Grey Estefanía.
No, pero explicarle de Chinú.
Ok. En la iglesia de Chinú.
There's another congregation that we established, or he established in Chinú. That's a city maybe about an hour and a half away from Montería.
Ustedes bien saben que no solamente estamos en Chinú y en Montería, ¿verdad? Estamos en esas dos partes, en tres partes estamos llevando el evangelio y hemos instaurado iglesias en Chinú, en Montería y en Agua Viva.
Yeah, so there's actually three places he's preaching at. Montería is the congregation he spends, say, most of the time where he lives, but he also preaches in the town Chinú, about an hour and a half away, and another small town that's in Montería, right?
El 14 de octubre del 2020, Derly Jaramillo y Miguel Torre, también es una familia.
Yes, so another couple was baptized in October of that year in this town of Chinú.
Derly Jaramillo y Miguel Torres en Montería, ¿viste? ¿Para qué?
Yes, and so their names...
y Grey y Estefanía en Chinú.
Yes.
Okay, vale.
¿También en Chinú?
No, solamente Grey.
Okay, so the one, Grace, Stephanie, is in Chinú. Okay. The other couple is in Montería.
Siguiente. El 15 de noviembre, esto es en Montería, Linda Nieves Berrocal, María Molina y Albania Paternina.
Yes, I'm going to slaughter the names probably, but Linda Nieves Berrocal, Maria Molina, and Albania Paternina.
Paternina, sí.
They were baptized, they're all in Montería.
Exactamente. El 15 de febrero se bautiza Fernando Martín y el 21 de febrero del 21, Arcadio Ortega. Ese es el papá, Arcadio es el papá de Efraín, que murió en este mes.
Okay. So in the 15th of February, they were baptized, Fernando Martín. And then a few days, 6 days later, this older gentleman who's the father of a man who works with him in preaching, and the man who was baptized here in February just was passed away this past month.
El 28 de marzo se bautiza Ercilia Ayazo.
And then in March, again about a month later, Ercilia Ayazo Peña.
Ayazo Peña, sí señor. Y esta es una familia, todos ellos. Gustavo Ayazo y Carmen Lucía Restrepo también son familia de la señora Ercilia.
Okay, so these are all related, a family that's related. Again, in the 4th of April, all of them were baptized on the same day.
Okay. Y Camila Padrón, que es la otra hija del hermano Efraín, que también se bautizó, estaban sin bautizarse, toda esta familia.
And Carmen, again, is the brother of Ephraim, which, again, that's one of the brothers that works with Fernando in preaching.
Ok, seguimos. El 25 de abril se bautiza Mateo Ayazo.
Yes, the 25th of April, Mateo Ayazo, you see there?
El 21, Omaira Díaz, Sepúlveda.
in Sepúlveda.
Sepúlveda. Omaira Díaz Sepúlveda.
Oh, okay, su nombre. lo siento. Yes, so this lady, I was confused, sorry about that. Sepúlveda is her name, not where she's from.
El 18 de julio, Alina Machado.
Yes, again, in
Sí.
July, another person was baptized into Christ.
Sí. Esta fue en Tierra Alta. También me fui a visitar a la familia en Tierra Alta y conocí a la señora Juana Rivera y se bautizó.
Yes, and I guess a lot of you are aware, but just a moment, hermano. Of course, the congregation started first meeting in Tierra Alta, which is the hometown of Fernando and my wife and their families. And he was visiting Tierra Alta, and he studied with this young lady who was baptized into Christ in October of 21.
Okay. El 5 de diciembre se bautiza Moraima Leán e Ingrid Saavedra Julio.
Yes, so these people were baptized into Christ, and again, this is December of 21.
Okay. El 5 de noviembre se bautiza Marelvi Morales y Yossi Morales. Esta familia Morales eran evangélicos, los Morales. Y les bautizamos, les dimos el evangelio y se convirtieron a Cristo,
Okay.
a la iglesia de Cristo.
Yes, so this young couple, right?
¿Sí?
They were baptized in December 5th of 21, and he was explaining that they taught them the gospel. They had some affiliation with the evangelical church, but they were taught through Fernando's studies with them.
Hay más. Es la mamá, se llama Georgina Jaramillo, la mamá de los que bautizamos anteriores.
And then a little while later, their mother was baptized.
Y Miguel Morales.
And also,
Todo esto es una familia, sí. Siguiente.
yes, they're all in the same family.
También Miriam Morales Díaz.
And Miriam Morales Diaz a week later, I think.
Ujú. Y Marta Beatriz González también hacían parte del grupo de los que bautizamos,
Oh.
de la iglesia cristiana evangélica.
Okay. Yeah, so they were, these folks had been part of
Okay.
an evangelical congregation, and he had studied with them, and all these really are family members.
El 9 de abril del 2022 se bautiza Carlos David Castro Machado y Beatriz Elena Méndez González.
And so on the 9th and 10th of April, again, these folks were baptized.
Sí.
¿Eran familiares?
Sí.
Yeah.
Y el 22 se bautiza Angie y Edith Ruiz. Estas son la mamá que se llama Edith y la hija que se llama Angie.
Okay, so a mother and a daughter were baptized in May of 22.
No, okay. El 11 de julio se bautiza José Fernando Suárez en Chinú, Córdoba.
Yes.
El 24 de julio, Rodelina Salcedo en Montería, y el 30 de julio también en Montería, Luz Helena Hoyos.
Yes, so in the month of July, this young man was baptized again in Chinú. Again, that's one
Rodelina
place that he
Salcedo.
preaches. ¿Cómo?
Rodelinda.
Oh, Rodelinda.
Rodelinda.
But Rodelinda and Luis Elena, they were in Montería.
Correctamente. El 14 de agosto, Yasmín González, y el 20 de agosto, Efraín Machado.
So again, in
De
August,
este
there
año.
were two folks that were baptized into Christ.
Sí. Listo. Son en total 43 personas bautizadas en lo concerniente del año 20, 21 y parte del 22.
Yes, so since 2020, there have been 43 people baptized into Christ. Most of those in Montería, as we noted, a few of those in Chinú.
Oh, amén. Los horarios que tenemos de reunión nosotros en la congregación es los domingos en Montería, nos reunimos a las 9 de la mañana, el servicio de adoración. También lo hacemos los martes y los jueves, donde hacemos un estudio bíblico. y también lo hacemos por internet. Y los viernes las damas se reúnen.
Yes, so they meet on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. and then they meet also Tuesday and Thursdays at 7 p.m., both live and also virtually. And then on Friday, they have a woman's study on 6:30 in the evening.
Sí, cabe informar que todo lo que hacemos está en Facebook. Todo lo que estamos trabajando, ahí están los en vivos de todo lo que hacemos, de todo lo que estamos haciendo en Montería. Así que pueden ustedes también mirar en nuestra página de Facebook todo lo que estamos informando.
Yes, so all of their services, they continue to have them in Facebook, and he's saying if you wanted to, I know my wife often listens to them, so we can listen ourselves to them on all their meetings are still done in Facebook, even though obviously the pandemic is allowing them to meet again.
En Agua Viva y Chinú también nos reunimos ese mismo día. El domingo de adoración lo hacemos a las 2 de la tarde en Agua Viva y a las 7 de la noche en Chinú.
Yeah, so the other two congregations where he's preaching at in Agua Viva and Chinú, he meets in Agua Viva at 2 p.m. And remember, they meet at 9 in Monteria, so then he goes over to Agua Viva at 2 p.m. and then drives to Chinú and meets there, the congregation, at 7 p.m.
Dijiste que hiciéramos el...
So, yes,
Okay.
so he does his circuit.
Ya, mira, ahí están. Vamos a mostrarlo. Esta es la evangelización que hemos hecho. Siempre vamos a las casas y tomamos las fotos de las personas que estamos evangelizando.
Yes, so this is kind of a collage of the pictures of so as he mentioned, he goes to different houses and does preaches to them, families that are interested. And so this is just some pictures of the meetings he has in the homes in order to evangelize.
Y le doy gracias a Dios, al hermano David Reyes, al hermano Jackson, porque gracias a la ayuda que ellos dieron y al hermano también, al hermano Valdemar Covarrubia, aportaron un dinero la vez que vine y gracias a ese dinero pues pudimos construir un nuevo local y nos estamos reuniendo en ese nuevo local gracias a la ayuda de estos hermanos, del hermano David Reyes, del hermano Valdemar y del hermano Jackson. Pudimos hacer este local, teníamos un lote que me ayudó el hermano Kevin también a comprar y pues hicimos este nuevo local, gracias a Dios, pues ya nos bajamos del que teníamos y ahora tenemos un nuevo local. Sí, un momento. Sí.
Yeah, so he's just saying that apart from, of course, the help that the church provides him and support, some of the brothers here, which is Brother Jackson, Brother David Reyes,
David,
Brother Covarrubias,
Valdemar,
he purchased a lot some years ago. He's built his home there and a meeting place for the church building. And he just wants to say thanks to those brothers who helped and, of course, the congregation, because thanks to that, they were able to build a place for the church to meet.
y ese es el proceso de construcción.
Yeah, this is just the process of the construction as it was being built. So lots of the brothers that meet there with them have been helping, of course, with the construction.
Sí. Y este, pues, el proceso de crecimiento de la iglesia, pues, desde la actualidad hasta ahora, hasta el tiempo de pandemia.
So this is, he's going to describe the progress or the growth of the church since the COVID to now.
Sí, ahí está. Empezamos en la casa,
So they started in the home, as he mentioned.
ahí en la casa. Hacíamos estas reuniones, ahí comíamos ahí con ellos.
These are some of the meetings they had at the home.
Después nos mudamos para el nuevo local.
So they've moved now into their new meeting place that they built.
Ahí va.
So these just some of the pictures, many pictures of them when they are meeting.
Estos son las reuniones que hacemos también con los niños.
So these are the meetings that they have with the children and the youth.
Ahí en la casa.
So,
Ahí está. Muy bien. Ahora la iglesia de Chinú. Estos son los hermanos los que hemos convertido en Chinú.
Yes, these are the brothers and sisters of the congregation in Chinú. And then
Esta es la iglesia de
Agua
Agua Viva. Ahí están los hermanos de la iglesia de Agua Viva.
So these are the members of the congregation there in Agua Viva. As you can see, they're meeting in a kind of one of those. It's very common in Colombia. These kind of these
Ok, y esta es la
simple
ruta.
buildings. Yeah.
Esta es la ruta que hacemos de Montería a Aguas Vivas.
This is the route from Monteria to Agua Viva. So you can see Monteria at the bottom right.
Hay unos 31 kilómetros más o menos. De ahí vamos, salimos de la reunión el domingo y vamos a Aguas Vivas a las 2 de la tarde.
Yes, so it's about 20 miles to Agua Viva, but maybe I should say that 20 miles here might be 20 minutes, but it would not be 20 minutes in Colombia, I assure you. So, ¿cuánto tiempo?
43 minutos.
So, como like 45 minutes to get from Monteria to Agua Viva.
Y esta es la ruta de Aguas Vivas porque damos enseguida el recorrido para Chinú, de Aguas Vivas a Chinú.
So from Agua Viva to Chinú.
El mismo domingo, ¿no?
Yes. So you can see Monteria can't be seen. It's down probably in the right corner.
No son 5 horas.
Bottom
son
right. And then he goes, how many?
Exactamente son 2 horas.
This is about 2-hour drive from Agua Viva to Chinú.
Sí, 2 horas de Agua Viva a Chinú.
Yes. Yes, he's driving a motorcycle, I guess.
Eso es motocicleta, creo, correctamente.
Yes.
Para que se...
So,
Ese
as he mentioned, he meets at 9 Monteria. They get done. He drives over to Agua Viva, about 45 minutes on the motorcycle. Preaches there and has some meeting with the members there, and then drives about, hour and a half, 2 hours over then to Chinú, and again preaches the third time that Sunday.
Y de Chinú, nuevamente regresamos a Montería.
And of course, Chinú back to the house, so it's a long day on Sunday.
Que son también una hora y media.
Yes, so about another hour and a half to get from Chinú back to his home.
Ese es el recorrido que hacemos todos los domingos.
Yes, that's basically his schedule for every Sunday.
En motocicleta, sí, lo que
Yeah,
está diciendo el
on
hermano.
a motorcycle.
Sí, okay. Seguimos. Bien. En mi familia.
This is his family, of course.
Y esta es la familia del joven que me colabora. Todos ya son cristianos, gracias a Dios. El hermano Elia Francisco Padrón.
Yes, so this again is the man. I think that helps him quite a bit. I see him quite often on Facebook preaching myself. And so now, thanks to God, all of his family is also in the church.
Está todo el tiempo trabajando conmigo, muy buen hombre, está dispuesto a trabajar en todo.
Yeah, he's a very good man. He's willing to work and do whatever he has to help preach the gospel.
Bueno, es todo. Quiero decirle que esto se ha hecho gracias a su ayuda, gracias a que ustedes están colaborando con la obra en Colombia. Pues se podía hacer sin su ayuda y pues hay que hacerlo, un poco más difícil. Pero gracias a que ustedes siempre están ahí ayudándonos, hemos hecho un buen trabajo, un mejor trabajo.
Yeah, so that's the end of his formal presentation, and he wants to just say that all this work is being done, in large part, of course, through the help of the congregation here. Obviously, without that help, they would continue trying, but certainly the work has been accelerated and aided greatly by the support that the congregation provides to him to do the work of the Churches of Christ in Colombia.
Por eso le damos las gracias a Dios primeramente y también a ustedes por el amor que tienen por las almas.
He says he gives thanks to God and thanks to you for the love that you have for the souls of the people in Colombia.
Pues, sí. Sí,
Hermano, déjeme traducirlo.
Okay.
He is asked how does he view the work in Chinú and how, enthusiastic as the congregation and has he seen any evidence of growth there? And again, Chanute is the city, as we showed, it's about an hour and a half away.
Okay. Podría crecer más, pero el tiempo que yo tengo, que yo dedico a Chinú, es muy limitado. Las personas están muy ansiosas de conocer a Cristo. Y en el tiempo que he estado, pues unas hermanas han sido muy generosas de estar pues ofreciendo su casa para congregarnos. Y el trabajo mayormente lo están haciendo las hermanas porque no hay un predicador que esté tiempo completo.
Yeah, so he says, concerning the work of the Chanute, it could of course be greater because there's a really great interest in the gospel and in knowing Christ. But of course, the time he could dedicate to them is relatively limited. And so most of the work is actually done by the members of Chanute. They've been very good about opening their homes for the means of the church and helping in any way they can. But at this point, this is going to end now, I think. There is no preacher there, say, working with that congregation full time. It's only the effort that, Fernando can provide, limited time to go there and have services for them on Sundays. But there's no one there to work with that congregation full time. Otherwise, he believes that, they could do even more.
Bueno, eso es lo que podíamos. Si hay alguna pregunta, estaremos respondiéndoselas.
Yeah. He wanted to save a little time if someone would like to ask him a question.
Bueno, también quiero darle las gracias también ¿sí?
I'm going to ask him if he could explain how Agua Viva, how that got started. ¿Cómo empezó la obra ahí en Agua Viva?
Okay. La obra en Agua Viva no la empecé yo como tal. Había unos hermanos muy antiguos que estaban ahí. Se reunían cuando Blas Negrete era predicador.
Yes, so he did not start the congregation. He's explained in Agua Viva. It was started by another brother who sadly, unfortunately, left the church at this point.
Y nadie fue más a visitarlos. Y un hermano me pidió el favor que fuera a visitarlos, que si podía sacar el tiempo de ir a predicarle. Pero que estaban dispersos y que necesitaba a alguien que los guiara. Y pues tomamos la tarea pues, de hacerlo.
And so, since those people were in a sense kind of abandoned, thanks to God, they did not leave the faith, even though, say, former leader did, but they continued and asked Fernando for the blessing of coming to at least provide services for them and help them as much as he could. And so he began to do that some time ago.
Y bueno, estamos haciendo el trabajo y vamos los domingos y visitamos a las personas y se están reuniendo.
Yeah, so he's been doing that for some time and the means of the church has been faithful and he's happy to go there and do that for them. And maybe I just voy a explicarles algo de
Sí,
Chanute.
claro.
Chanute, kind of the impetus for Chanute was some people who had been members of the church in Tierra Alta, his hometown, where the church, we started preaching first. They had moved to Chanute to be closer to their family. And again, similar thing, they asked, hey, could we come and help them start? And that was sometime a few years ago, I guess. But they've been making some progress, and so it's good to see that people, when they move, they don't forget, the faith and the things that they've learned. So they initiate with Fernando's assistance a congregation there in Chanute.
Claro. Sí.
He's asking the question, for us, of course, it seems so close. I mean, Tierra Alta is probably 40 miles or 50 miles from Monterrey. And kind of explain a little bit about what's some of the limitations of the transportation and how that affects the work.
Sí, el problema es que, porque es una vereda. es una vereda, ¿saben lo que es una vereda, verdad? Bueno, es una vereda. Lo otro, pues, a veces no tienen los recursos económicos para ir a Montería. Queda 40 minutos y hay que hacerlo en bus. Y otro, pues, en moto, pero a veces no tienen los recursos. Por eso nosotros vamos allá.
Yes, I guess it's hard for us to imagine. I know where I'm from in eastern Kentucky, I used to think I'm from a town called Pikeville, and there was Elkhorn City. Now I realize it's only 20 miles away. But at the time, it seemed like that's the other side of the world, and it's kind of similar in Columbia. Not only do the brothers really not have the recourses, they don't own a car, obviously, or even a motorcycle. And so not only that, the roads are very poor condition. It's a really not a situation where the congregations could say try to join together and meet together. So this is a small community, and this is very typical. Believe me, he gets requests all the time to go to the middle of nowhere and preach the gospel. And it's wonderful that people are interested, and it's sad that sometimes as Jesus said, lift up your eyes and see the harvest, because the fields are white and ripe, let's say, but it's not always that there's people ready to do the work. And so he does as much as he can, and the people don't have the economic, say, situation or really the conditions available for the resources to come and try to go a long distance to meet in the congregation. So we have to go to many times these very small neighborhoods or very, very small towns to try to help them establish the congregations in those little places.
¿Preguntas?
Anyone else have a question they'd like to ask? Brother who? Patrón. ¿Cuál es su papel en eso?
Trabaja conmigo, los dos salimos y pues nos ayudamos en la predicación. Es como Pablo y Sila.
Yeah, he's asking
Pablo y
about
Timoteo.
one of the brothers that we mentioned that works with Fernando, and he's asking what is his role, and he says, well, he's my right-hand man. He's like Paul and Silas. He has really been a great blessing to Fernando. I know there's times, of course, that Fernando couldn't go to Chenoo or whatever, and he's able to send someone he trusts to go preach there. But just even the encouragement of having someone who's really dedicated to the gospel, so that you have that encouragement, has been a really tremendous help.
Sí, es mi compañero de batalla. Siempre estamos los dos y pues es mejor no andar solo. Siempre un compañero para hacer las cosas.
Yes. Basically, in essence, he says, and it's really wonderful to have somebody who's willing to work with you on that level. ¿Son como clínicas, como médicas o escuelas en estas áreas?
¿Hay escuela?
Escuela o clínicas médicas. Yo creo que a lo mejor que tiene que ver con la iglesia.
No. Clínicas médicas.
Como si un lugar para que puedes recibir ayuda médica, doctores y cosas así.
No, no tenemos allá eso. No tenemos.
Well, at least, yes, there are schools, of course, but public. There is nothing related to the church as far as clinics, medical clinics, or schools of that nature at this point. Yes. Okay. Look. No, escucho, lo siento.
Sí, ya.
Oh, okay. Yes, she was just saying that she wanted to, make the point. When they first started, when they met Elias, he was a member of the church, but was not like someone who could go preach and do these kind of things. And that's part of the things he's doing, of course, is discipling, men to become leaders. And this is one of the ones that, he began training and teaching, and now is capable of, doing, most of those activities. He does everything basically.
Sí.
As we know, that's really part of the process.
Allá el hombre.
¿Cómo describe esa zona de Colombia? ¿Es de montañas o cómo es así?
Sí, Es un valle, es el Valle del Sinú. Pues hay montañas en la parte sur de Colombia que se llama el Nudo Paramillo, pero es muy hermoso, eso es algo muy, ¿cómo le digo? Hermoso. Kevin puede describirlo.
So there's a very large river called the Sinu, which was an Indian tribe that lived in Colombia. And the Sinu River is very large and very long. And like you can imagine, it's created a valley. So it's kind of a mountainous area, but nothing like, say, very, very tall mountains, because the mountains are more in the central part of Colombia. This is getting closer to the coast, so there's still mountains, but it's a river valley, basically, area. Very lush, a lot of cattle. Cordoba, the state where he lives, is where really a lot of cattle ranching kind of activities, and but also they grow a lot of crops like plantain and mango and things of this nature, tropical fruits.
En Montería. Sí, yo pienso que hay que comprar un lote al lado, pues eso lo tengo, esa es la que tengo en la mente, ¿no? En la parte de atrás, porque no va a caber las personas. Apenas lo que llevamos son 2 años y ya hay 65 personas más o menos ya reuniéndose. A veces nos reunimos 40, 45 y en ese local no caben más de 80 personas o 100 personas.
Yes. So he had asked what's the vision, and this is probably the last question, I think. We're going to have to stop for the class time, but he's asked about the vision for the growth of the church, and he's explained that at this point there's probably typically 45 to 60 that will attend. The area really stuffing them in there is probably 80 max, I would say, and that's already very, very, very crowded. So they're saying the next step is probably need to buy a lot beside where the building is and try to expand the building in order to have more people, because they're getting close to out of space, basically. So he'd mentioned, I'll just say this last thing, of the 43 people that were baptized, the majority are still faithful. There's some people that have moved away, obviously, and some that have passed on, but as you can tell, they started from near scratch in this area where they're at now. The congregation's grown pretty significantly in just 2 years where they're at right now. So it's great to see that. And again, in order to take the next steps, it's like the same thing as always. There has to be resources applied to allow the church to have a suitable place to meet.
Bueno, yo creo que si no hay más preguntas, creo que acabamos.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be
Así,
finishing
hay
here.
preguntas ya.
Sí, toca
Sí,
el tiempo ya.
cortico.
Someone has a question, he said? I didn't see.
Si quiere.
Go ahead.
¿Material? ¿Cómo compran el material?
¿Cómo comprar?
¿Qué clase de material? ¿La construcción? Ah, sí. Pues allá hay personas que son ingenieros y que compramos el material, pues, como le digo, en ferreterías, en constructoras, y lo hacemos en bloques, eso es lo que hacemos, más que todo en material de...
So he's asked about the construction and what?
Sí, claro. Sí,
Okay.
sí, eso lo hacemos nosotros mismos.
Yeah, so in other words, there is a few members of the church, one in Tirata that's his job. He builds, does construction. But for the most part, basically, they've built it themselves. It's all block construction down there. So, it's kind of something that several people in the church know how to do it, and they've basically done it by themselves. So, but again, it's all like center block, we would say center block, but they're not center blocks, they're solid, but block construction. And so all the work's been done by the church members.
Bueno, mis hermanos, dándoles las gracias por la atención prestada y sigamos orando y trabajando en la obra del Señor, porque el trabajo en el Señor no es en vano.
So thank you, brothers and sisters, for your attention, and we want to continue working, and so God will be glorified, and so thank you so much for your help in the work. All right.